Welcome back, everyone. We will be starting very shortly. I've just sent my Zoom link. So, yeah, welcome back, guys. How's everyone doing? Yeah, my day's been pretty average, pretty normal. Got off the charts after we took that trade. How's everyone doing? You guys doing good? You guys can hear me, right? Nice, nice. Easy. Yeah, waiting to see how the market opens. Forcing this protein shake down my throat. Hell yeah. That's what we like to see. Gonna get locked in. That's what today's all about, right? Locking it in for tomorrow and for the rest of the week. What's the news looking like? What do we have tomorrow? Tomorrow you have no. That's yeah. Wait, what? That's tomorrow. You have more core PPI. Okay, and then you have FOMC. Tomorrow should be a pretty volatile day. So today we didn't really push very far, right? We kind of were still in this range. I'll break it down, but yeah, let me just get ready for everything. We're getting there though. Let me just send this link to everyone. Oh, a banana, that's your flavor? Man, I don't understand. Why do you go for banana? I've never trusted like the really simple flavors. Like vanilla. Vanilla's probably the only one I trust, right? Even chocolate, I'm kind of like, strawberry, banana. Ugh. And then like, you have some weird ass flavors like birthday cake or whatever, which I've never tried in my life. Don't think I will either, but some people seem to like that shit. So who knows, man? Yeah, vanilla is just, you know, like it's like original, basically. There's not much is going on. But once you get to like, oh, but the thing is though, I tried what is it called? Like matcha latte, and you can have that with milk, and it's really good. But then once you stop having protein shakes with milk, I usually just have it with water now. It's so hard to drink. Like, as in the flavor tastes so different, and then once you get used to it, it's okay, right? But it takes a while. I had like because every time you buy protein, right, you have to buy like in massive bags. Chocolate peanut butter. Does that not get like really? Do you not get like really annoyed by? It's like eating peanut butter constantly. You've never drank any protein shakes in your life, man. Protein shakes are the way, man. Hey, that was a unintended pun. But yeah, I mean, like if you go gym or whatever, I would say protein shakes, you know, just save you a lot of time. Like for example, you have to come back and it's like, oh yeah, now do I make food or whatever, right? Beef isolates. Thing is, like anything that's flavored, you can kind of tell. It's very difficult, like to, for at least for anyone to convince me that, oh yeah, cool, you know, like this flavor is gonna taste great because it's not like the actual food. And that's what kind of gets me every time. But yeah, welcome back, everyone. We will be starting very shortly. Let me just transition over. It's the live chat. What is going on here? Should be good. I'll give it a sec. How are you already here when the market is closed? I mean, that's what we're here for, right? We're here to see how the market closed and then see how the market is likely to open again, right? That's it. That's all we do. And then we do a bit of analysis, you know, here and there. Yeah, that's basically it. Why is my pop-up chat not working? Yeah, that is my job for this session, right? So my session is pre-Asian. So I do a pre-Asian analysis, right? And that's basically it. Side missions, man. What side missions do you got for me? Ah, for some reason the stream chat is not working today. Very interesting. Can you guys see it or I'm guessing nobody can see the chat, right? Yeah. Yeah, why is it just blank, man? Let me just try to fix this real quick, guys. Apologies. But this is trying to figure out all these basic bits before we get going. Well, that is unfortunate. I don't think I can get it working before we start, but that's okay. I'm sure we will live, right? Yeah, whatever. Sorry, we can live without chat for a day. It's all good. All right. How you doing, Jack? Welcome back, everyone. Yeah, we're gonna get started pretty soon. Yeah, 22 people. Yeah, it's enough to get started, basically. Right. So for those who don't know, we come in to pre-Asian session, and all we do is a breakdown of gold. We understand what happened throughout the day, and we look at what potentially might happen for the next day. That's all we do, right? But the analysis will come with a bunch of questions that you guys have. We'll answer that. That could be anything to go from liquidity, psychology, breakouts, fake outs, onions, celeries, pineapples, the whole lot, right? Anything you want to ask. But yeah. So let's jump straight in. Right. So let me just clear my charts. Right, and we just jump straight to the monthly. Right. Monthly, we're still coming down, right? We're 12 days into the month. We have another, I would say, 10, 12 days left before it's kind of like Christmas time. And that's when the kind of markets are going to be relatively closed, I would say. I don't think it's open on Christmas Day and Boxing Day and whatever. So you probably have about 10, 12 days left to trade. You have very high impact news tomorrow, but let's just focus on the monthly for now, right? So monthly, you've closed bullish above the range, came up, you filled the range, created a top wick, and now you're flipping down. Cool. We're bearish. Very simple. Same as yesterday. We're bearish and probably looking to take price down towards around 1915. These sorts of areas, this level, right? Anywhere between 19, like this is up to like 1919, all the way down to around 1907. This range on the monthly, even down to around these areas potentially for the future, right? But we don't know that yet. We need something that is called a closure, right? So when the price and the actual candle closes below this range, then we can look to take price down. What I would prefer is if price is able to close below here instead, right? The difference is if you're closing below here, you potentially could also say you had a bit of a a small range here, or you could have said you respected this area, and now you're a little bit ambiguous, right? Because did you close below this area? So are you respecting this top of the range, or are you closing below this area? So I'd like it just to have a clean closure below 1979, right? And that would tell us, that would indicate that price would want to come down. And the next candle, probably for the monthly, will come up, top wick, and then we'll start to flip down, right? But until this candle closes at any given point, it can continue to rip back up, right? We didn't have a bottom wick for the monthly previously, so now that we have a bottom wick, this could just be it, right? This could just be price printing a bottom wick for us to retest those highs because the previous monthly closed bullish, right? So now that we know that, let's jump to the weekly, remove all our lines because the levels will be slightly different, right? So at the moment, what phase are we in for the weekly, right? We had a weekly closure for the first week of December. Now we're coming down. Weekly doesn't have a top wick, well, not much of a top wick, and you're just ripping down, right? So the previous weekly top wick was enough for us to start driving down. That's fine. That's cool, right? That's absolutely normal because any given point, this is enough liquidity for us to potentially retest those monthly lows, right? The monthly range is down at like 19 or whatever it was, right? So for the monthly down to like these areas towards 1919, 1918, right? On the weekly, 1918, 1919 looks like around here, right? These sorts of areas here. And I would say that our overall, our weekly goal is probably somewhere around these areas, which is relatively in line, right? So we have to tap, into some smaller ranges, right? So we will come down for the weekly, and our overall goal, last time we closed back into this range, right? We're looking at this, we are looking at this fake out, we are looking at this closure back into the range, and you came down to tap these areas. This is where you started to struggle. All right. So as you're struggling here, we're understanding that price is likely to come down towards 1932 before doing anything. If it wants to continue ripping up, cool. It definitely can, right? And we're not going to stop price from doing that. We'll just watch it. We'll just watch it come down, and then as it's fading back up, maybe you start retesting those highs. But we are saying that as you get this closure, this specific closure here, this weekly closure back into the range, indicates that we're likely to get a range fill. And that range fill looks like you'll probably take us down towards 1932 eventually. Not sure when, but you also have a couple pit stops being at around 1966. So 1966, once we tap, we have a little bit of a decision to make. And if we do break past right here, all of these levels as well, if we do break past, cool, we'll look to take price down to 1932. But again, overall, because it's the weekly, the main idea is just to identify the bias, right? The bias is bearish on the weekly, right? And the daily. Now let's go to the daily. I'm going to keep my levels because I think these levels do actually apply. But I'd actually like to have one level up here towards 1981. We mentioned yesterday, right, that you've closed respecting a support. Right, 1981 is a very strong support, right? So you kind of hovered around here for a while. You pushed up for the entire day, and then you started flipping down, right? You started flipping down towards the end of the session. So what does that indicate, right? It indicates that you still got a daily closure below the range, but you haven't really you spent the entire time, creating this top wick to flip down. So for the next daily candle, what can we expect, right? Obviously, we have news which can push price in any direction, but overall, I would say you're breaking back into potentially these ranges down here. Once you break past here, you're looking to take price potentially down towards these areas, right? Every time you kind of break below, look at this, you came down, tapped these areas, broke below, right? Or just respected, tapped these areas. These areas you kind of had wick rejections all the way. Here you came down all the way to these areas. But yeah, overall, this is exactly what we're looking for. So as price is closing below, right, we also have to understand that, okay, this is the daily time frame, so we might get some setups on the smaller time frames, but we're bearish. We had a top wick for the majority of today's candle. As that's happening, we may not get that high of a top wick before we start ripping down. Similar to the monthly, right? To the weekly, where your weekly had a massive top wick for the previous week, and now your current week is just like this. You don't. Are you expecting a steeper top wick? Not necessarily, right? So this could happen on the daily as well, right? For us to just start ripping down. The only potential issue I see is you do also have a little bit of a support towards here, right? I would say, you have some support around here. So where is your actual support? It's difficult to tell, but it looks like you may be also still respecting this general zone between here, all right? So for your sells, what am I going to need? Probably a closure which is more, which actually looks better, right, in terms of ranges and clearer structure for us. And what is that going to be? Probably a breakout below here, right? Because if you just look at this, every time you broke back into this range, this one broke back into the range, this one didn't, right? But sorry, this one actually did as well. But when you broke back in, filled the range. These ones you broke, and you all filled the range, right? That's what we're looking for. Even these ones, you filled the range. So if that is now my support, then cool. There is, a potential that price is actually not bullish yet, right? And if you want to continue pushing down, you may need to grab more liquidity, right? And we'll probably see this on the smaller time frame as well. Like you'll range in certain areas, you didn't get that massive push. Why? Because you're at a very, very strong decision level, right? 1981, 1978, this general sort of area is a very strong decision level for price. And it has been for like up until March this year when I've started trading essentially, right? This level has been established, ages ago, even since like, April 2022. So this is the daily, right? I'm understanding that we have a very steep top wick and you start flipping bearish towards the end. I am bearish for the daily, right? But I'm also understanding that I'll probably need a little bit more confirmations for us to take sells continuing down towards 1965, and potentially even down towards like 1930s or like 1950 something and then 32 eventually, right? So let's jump down to the 4 hour. 4 hours looking pretty nice, right? We have a top wick. We haven't broke the lows. Why? Right? So that kind of goes back to the daily. We are at a very strong decision zone. Price not breaking indicates that you may need more liquidity, or price is just going to struggle here for a while, right? And what you need to wait for potentially is price to kind of come down, create, some breakouts for you, come back up, grab liquidity, and then continue bearish, right? So if something like this happens, you probably can't get into any sells right now, because overall, you've understood that you've grabbed liquidity here, and then your daily, if your daily just opens up, you have no top wick, cool. We are looking for the sells, but this is a very strong decision zone. What I'll look for is potentially either you get a bullish closure, and this is the higher time frame, by the way. So, the hourly or the 4 hour, or whatever. Look for something like this, right? And then your next candle, if it then breaks the lows after creating a steeper top wick, I'll look to take this down towards our next level, which is around 1965, right here. And that's going to be the trade, right? But understanding that as it's coming down, you probably have a range here, anywhere in these areas, right? Because you haven't broke the lows yet. You have a range there on the smaller time frame, like 5, 15, 30, and you need to break all those highs before you're able to come down. So let me just. Okay, so cool. 4 hour. Let's do an analysis on the 4 hour, right? I'm going to keep that one level, which was 1981 or whatever it was. Actually, let me just. Yeah, okay, so these are our general levels on the daily. Let me just refine them so that they're cleaner for the overall 4 hour, which seems to be 1976. Right, you have this, you have these wicks, then you also have this closure here. You could argue potentially it's slightly lower towards around these areas, which, I could also be inclined to put there. But I'm just going to look left real quick to see what we've established in the previous kind of structure. Cool. Yeah, I am liking this general area. I'm going to move this up to around here. Yeah, I'm liking 1974. So for sells, probably looking to grab, sells below 1974, but I'm understanding that, again, going back to the daily is probably the key level, I would say, for tomorrow, right? It's very clean on the daily, but I'll need a break of these lows first, and then I'll need a top wick. That's the next confirmation I need. And then if we continue back down, cool, I'll look for those sells. And what is that going to look like on the higher time frame compared to the lower time frame, right? Lower time frame, you're going to see this. Sorry, higher time frame, you may just see something that looks like this. Break of the highs, continuation down, right? Something that looks like that. On the lower time frame, what you might see is something that looks like this, where you have this, then cool, you start coming back into the range, you start coming up, right? And then you're like, oh, cool, I'm around here. And then you suddenly, you start reversing. It's like, oh, okay, cool. We're looking like we're coming back down. And then once you close below here, I'll look to take a sell. Why? Because this on your lower time frame is a range. The range on the higher time frame is this wick. Right? So I'm understanding that this is a liquidity grab, potentially on the 5 minute, on the 15 minute. And as you're coming down, you're re-breaking the lows after creating a top wick, which is, slightly higher than all of these wicks around here, right? So as that's happening, then cool. Yeah, I'll look to take this off the rip to come down, because you've grabbed liquidity. Your daily has a top wick because of this, right? And now you're re-breaking the daily lows. And that's basically the trade, right? If we're looking to take some sells down. Cool. 4 hour, yeah. So sells below here, but I'll need liquidity. We may be able to get some wick entries, but first we'll probably need to see the breakout below. Once you do break below, you may just get a clean push. I mean, like, look at the previous traffic here was pretty clean, and then once you break past 65 as well, you have pretty clean traffic to come down to 58. So you may get some pretty pretty strong pushes tomorrow, I would say. Hourly, to be honest, the rest of the charts don't really matter. Your 4 hour and your daily are your best friend, I would say, for tomorrow. Everything else, will fall in line with that as long as you close below 74. Once you get that closure below 74, every single time frame lines up, right? I would say also, like if I just go down to the smaller time frames, you'll see that cool. What did price do, right? Price ranged. So you had this was the push up. You were trickling up. So say on your 30 or whatever, you were still within this area. Let's say, right, within this area. You then broke above to grab liquidity. You came down, but you only came down to fill the range, right? So if this is a fill of the range, then cool. What can we expect? We can expect more liquidity to break out of the range and then more liquidity needed for us to push, right? So if we do get those breakouts, looking for liquidity, probably anywhere in like these sorts of areas here down to around here, depending on how bearish it closes, right? But I would say, what did I want to say just now? Yes, going back to the daily, right? Because the daily is our best friend. Cool. If we just mocked up 1981 from yesterday, we had our top of the range, I'd say towards around these areas, right? You have these, support, resistance, and whatnot. What did you, if you just notice what price did for yesterday, right? Price literally came up to the top of the range. You filled. On your 4 hour, you literally just came up, right? You filled the top of the range, then started coming down. Right? You had a range here, you broke the highs, started coming down. So that's why we were expecting price to be relatively aggressive when it's coming down. But you just started ranging. So that's fine. It means that, for tomorrow, we may get some pretty nice entries as well, potential wick entries to continue down because you've already created all of this structure where it's grab liquidity. So you only need a little bit more liquidity. Or tomorrow we might not even get liquidity. We might even just get a breakout. And once we get that breakout, we're probably looking to take price down, I would say. But yeah, that's basically the analysis, guys. It's not too complex tonight, I would say. Generally, every single time you got a closure below 74, you were pretty much good to go. Like, look at this, clean traffic down. This one at least tapped you into 70, so that's like 40 pips, right? That's pretty good. All of these as well, you came straight down. Even these wicks, right? These wicks are 5-minute closures potentially as you're coming down. And even this was like 27. This closure below, this was like 40, 44, right? So you have some pretty clean range to come down. This was two very strong 4-hour candles on the 30. What does it look like? It looks like, you didn't really struggle too much here. You kind of just came down. Look at this. You filled this range, right? So I'm expecting price as it comes down. You probably want to look for, I'll move this down here just a little bit because this is the next cleanest range, right? Just to come down. Once you get that, yeah, you should be good. But at the moment, you're just in this range. So be patient, right? Don't FOMO into positions, even though you're seeing that the daily is bearish. Doesn't mean that you can just take a sell now, right? Let me just see if you can get any sells earlier because I'm understanding that you also have this range here, right? Just going back and forth to check. Yeah, it's a pretty nice range as well. The only issue is like you've had a lot of traffic in these areas in the past, right? So your exact zone is just, like what is cleanest? The cells below here or the cells like here, right? So that's what I'm worried about. And look at this, right? If you were looking for cells down here, need a top wick, you formed that top wick, you didn't flip, so no cells, right? But once you do get those cells, potentially, you can come down. Yeah, this range is not the cleanest, I would say. Perhaps you can take something below here, but 76, 73, it's not too bad. What I would need to get a sell below 76 though is price to again probably grab some liquidity. So I'll need a breakout and then probably a liquidity grab up to like either 80, which is quite a large ask for Asian session, but mark this up as top of the range. I would say around here. I'll probably need liquidity around there for sells. So that's what is that going to look like, right? So let me bring on my annotation tool again. By the way, welcome everybody who's just joined. We suddenly got a spike, I think. But in the case that price does something like this, where it doesn't break any of the highs, comes down, you get a closure below 76. Sorry, yeah, 76. What I'll look for, right, is not off the rip or anything. I'll look for price to, if this is on the 30-minute candle, probably just for it to come up. I'm not expecting it to drive down at this point. And I'll look for price to tap into these areas. Hey, Huss is here as well. So for price to tap into these areas and then start coming down. And then once you come down, I'll look for these sells off the rip. Right? Because now you've broken all of these highs here. And as that's happening, cool. I'm going to look to take price down and you have an advantage point towards here, 73, which is quite nice. And that would mean that you can get this overall trade in slightly earlier. But that's what I would need to see. If you just want sells below 73 and you don't get any of this forming, again, it is slightly difficult. If price just does something like this, it's looking like it will probably need more liquidity. Probably less, right? If it's aggressive, you maybe get like a top wick, no bottom wick sort of situation, and then you can probably put like a sell stop. Right? And as that's happening, you can probably look to take the flip. But again, I'm expecting it to break some highs, right? At least this high, maybe some of these highs. A lot of the times what you'll see is potentially a candle closure like this, where you have no top wick as you're coming down. That's perfect, right? Because then it kind of shows us where we want that liquidity to be grabbed. Right, as you're closing below, cool. I'll look for a top wick for this candle somewhere around these areas and a flip. And that'd be the trade. If something like that happens, we have a better identification of where I'd like the top wick. But yeah, that's essentially what I'm looking for. Closures below 76. I mean, I'll give you some examples, right? Closures below, you kind of just rip down in this case. Closures below here, you grab liquidity towards 80. So this is a key thing I'm looking at. Looking at previous action, this kind of just came down. There's nothing you could have done. You also had no bottom wick here. But as you created this and then rebroke the lows, you also had no bottom wick, so no entries there, unfortunately. Sells below here, I mean, you didn't tap all the way up to these areas, but look at this, right? You got a sell below here, but you tapped into these areas first. So as that happens, cool, we can look to take price down. Look at this, right? You came down, you didn't break all of this. You had a tap into around 81. So if you took some, if you were looking for 80 to get tapped, as you start coming down, cool, we can look to take these off the rip, right? Hey bro, what's a potential buy scenario with FOMC tomorrow? Yeah, so you can definitely get buys as well, but it really depends on what price prints. It's slightly difficult. I would say what you would need is price to do something like this, right? Price needs to come down first, break all the lows, potentially tapping down to these areas or like even these areas, right? And then flip up, right? So somewhere like around this, probably not this steep, right? Like something like this. We have a steep bottom wick breaking these lows to come up. And then once you have that 4-hour closure, I would say probably above this range, right? We can probably look to take price. I mean, it doesn't have to be above there, but for now, I'm just looking at the 4-hour, right? You just need you need a bullish closure. You're relatively bearish at the moment, I would say. After grabbing that liquidity on the previous daily as well. Look at this, right? You grab massive liquidity to come down. If you start breaking the lows and then you close above here, 1981, then yeah, I'll look for some buys to go up. What is this line again? Why do I have so many 81 lines? Go away. Go away, go away. I don't need these. But yeah, essentially what I would be looking for is price to come down first, break all the lows, right? But it needs to have basically no top wick, or it's like it hasn't grabbed liquidity, right? So in the case that you get a 4-hour closure that even looks like this, right? We're understanding that we want sells below here, but we need top wicks, right? So if that top wick hasn't been generated and you just get this, I can't take any sells. But what I'd be looking for is if something like this happened, then price is starting to reverse up, right? Cool. At this point, you're wondering, okay, can I get those cells to continue down? Maybe, right? But because if this is what happens, then your daily probably has no top wick. You probably can't look to take those cells down. You probably need to look for cells as you close below here now, right? So as you come up, right? If you've then broken the lows to come up, and then you potentially get closures above here, we'll look for, some bottom wicks for this to come up, all right? And then our entry will be this. Does that make sense for buys, right? Because we're understanding that every time you want to get into a buy, you need this, this support here is pretty strong in 1981, right? We've respected this for the last, day or two, right? I would say. Um, but it really depends on how the daily opens up, right? And like how the daily pushes during the Asian session. If the daily just kind of starts coming up first, right? Just starts doing something like this, or like, you come up slowly, but you have like a bit of a bottom wick, but you're starting to come up, then cool. We'll wait for FOMC probably for New York. And then as price has come out, if it's coming up, you create a massive top wick again, right? And then you start flipping bearish, then cool. We'll look to take those off the rip sells probably. So if you get this and then you start closing below here, we may even get some sells depending on how steep this top wick is, right? If it closes something like this, respecting this, I mean, let me draw it slightly below, right? So if you get something that looks like this, right? Something like that, then cool. I'm understanding that you've now broken back into this range down. You'll probably look for the wick fill, and you also have a top wick breaking all of these highs here. Then cool, yeah, that's probably my confirmation for sells. But that's probably what I'm going to be looking for in terms of buys and sells. You just have to react to price. Like what this analysis is currently is just what I would do for price right now. So imagine this was New York session, you have volume. What would I do? That's basically what I'm answering, right? But when the actual volume kicks in, when we're actually trading a session, it's very different. You get candle closures, you get like, some volume. Sometimes price will print really quickly. You have like 2 news events tomorrow. So yeah, just wait for news to come out, I would say. And then after that, look to take price and continue in this direction. But I would say, because I think tomorrow's news, you have 2 sets of news, right? So how news pushes for core PPI doesn't mean that that's going to be the direction for the day. You may get a different direction as FOMC comes out. So for example, if price starts printing up first, right, and then your core PPI starts pushing gold down, right? And it's like, cool, we're bearish, we're bearish, we're bearish, right? But if you just look back on the daily, right? If you look back at the daily, right? The daily closed potentially at a support at 1978, 1976, these sorts of areas. So any given point, price could reverse to come back up. And this could be the liquidity grab we needed for price to start reversing, right? And this might be what you see for FOMC. So it's very dependent on what price is doing. Yeah? Does that make sense to everyone? So like, don't just think that, okay, yeah, core PPI, we've pushed price down. Yeah, we're bearish for sure, right? Doesn't always happen because you have multiple news events and these are both red folders. FOMC is typically a massive folder, right? So just wait on. Which scenario did you not get, Alex? We'll try to explain that again. Are you talking about this scenario where price pushes in both directions after 2 different scenarios of news? Yeah, last one. Okay, so essentially, I think you're relatively, you know what news is, right? So when news happens, you typically get a strong push in price. So this was news here, strong push in price, right? But you pushed up, wasn't necessarily the direction for price, right? You pushed up, you grab liquidity to come down, right? But you haven't pushed. So what is going to happen, right? You also have 2 bits of news. We look at mainly these red folders. So this one is core PPI, which is massive typically. I think we had core PPI today as well. Yeah, we had core PPI. What's the difference? I think it's just more folders potentially, but you have core PPI. Then you also have FOMC. These are both red folders, so high impact expected, right? And typically, because we're trading gold versus the US dollar, you'll have a high impact on the price of gold. So what I'm saying is, in the case that the first news event comes out, and that's core PPI, and say price then because of news we start pushing up, right? Let's just say we start pushing up, right? Once that happens, cool. Price may continue pushing up for the next, couple hours, right? But then you just remember that you have another news event, right? So you may be able to trade this as relatively bullish, but any given point, your next news event could push price completely in a different direction, right? And if something like that happens, right, you need to understand that towards the second news event, or the first news event doesn't determine the direction of price for the day. Because you have two very strong news events, price can go anywhere, right? So if this, you're thinking, oh, this is going to be a liquidity grab for us to continue up, so cool, yeah, I'll probably look to take some buys as long as you come back into these areas. I'll look to take some buys to continue up because of general market structure coming head and shoulders or whatever, right? And then you start to come up, right? Cool, so I'm going to look to take a buy here, right? I would say be careful, because at any given point, if price comes out, sorry, if news comes out and it's very, very bad for gold, you may just drive straight through. So the key thing to do, I would say, Alex, is to just wait for price to come out, so for news to come out. Wait like, a good 5, 10, potentially even 15 minutes sometimes. Wait for it to come out, and then you'll see the direction printing, and then just jump on the wave, right? For example, when price was pushing down today, right? You were here, you pushed down, cool. We had a buy stop here, didn't get activated, so we started coming down. I took a couple sells as you were breaking this low, so cool. I rode price down, right? But as you got to these areas, I'm understanding that cool. This is likely an area where price is likely to reject, right? Towards around these areas here. So I closed there, right? And then I didn't really care which direction price went later on, right? There is a chance that potentially price would continue back up. Like you see this massive bullish candle here. Maybe price was going to continue up, right? I don't know. But yeah, that's essentially the analysis, guys. Alex, if you're still here, I mean, hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully, you have a slightly better understanding. Do I? I really need to get like a face cam because nobody knows who I am. But yes, I will be unmuting the Zoom. We have some boys in here today. Yo.
How you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you doing? Man, my stream chat is not working. That's really bugging me. Because every time I look over, it's just a white screen.
It's because your chat's dead.
Man, these moderators not putting enough of not putting it on in enough work, man. This is bad. I need to change my mods already.
Fucking hell. Our friend who's in the cell right now.
Your mate's in the cell.
No, it was me in the cell.
Oh.
I took the cell at around 5:45. I'm still in it just because again I haven't
Around
any
here.
signs. Let me have a look on this. Yeah, yeah.
All right. Where's your stop?
Stop is 1985.
Yeah, around here. Okay, cool. Let's have a look. Let's have a look.
Didn't really seem like there was much. I was thinking if it was going to go up, it's going to have to break the lows, grab liquidity. Then we'll just slowly trickle up. Not much of a bottom wick on some of the candles, no bottom wick on one of them. But expecting that retest of lows before.
Yeah, I mean, you should tap 1976, right? Like you're in this range, right? You're just in this range. You're likely gonna fill the range. So honestly, I wouldn't be too worried. And also, if you want to drive up, you probably need to break the lows to come up. Um, yeah. So I mean, it might be a longer trade, but you should be good generally. Because I mean, if you look at the 30-minute, right, you have this range here to the left, which goes down to 76. You have also this, where you're understanding that even if you don't come down to 76, you're coming down to like 76.9, 77, which is basically where your entry is, right? Like 10 pips below your entry, or 8 pips. Yeah, you should be fine.
Let's just put take profit to break even.
Uh,
Sleep.
yeah, I mean, if you're looking to go to bed, yeah. If you're not, then you can you can continue waiting. But it might be a while. Like it may take. It also depends on where price is going to push first. I would say for the daily, because
Yeah.
I would say you. The reason I say you're good, right, is because the daily created this massive top wick and is just starting to flip. You broke past this very strong support here. So any given point, you could just rip down. Right, your 4 hour also has no bottom wick. You need to create a bottom wick for it. It's just I don't know where price is going to push first, right? Because as the market's going to be opening relatively soon, if it comes up, I'm not expecting it to, like come up all the way towards these areas, I would say, but it may come up. You may see more drawdown as it's, oops, yeah, this green.
I probably will be doing sleep, so I think I'm working my TP, put it like a break even or so.
I'd probably just put it here, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to like realistically, depends on how long you want to wait. Here is okay, but for safety, probably just put it here. But but yeah, it's all right. Yeah, I'm just looking at this, right? Like you're still overall respecting this entire area. 1979. Yeah, I mean you broke back in then. You broke back in. You may have a fake out to come down. What's this? Yeah, you should be fine. Tap the top. That's what I mean, right? You may tap the top of your range. Your stop loss is 85. I mean, as long as it's above these two wicks, I think you should be fine.
Mm.
Just like ever so slightly above, like move it like 2-3 pips above. You should be fine. Oh, Nav's here as well. Wow, we have many, many, many mods here today. Welcome, welcome. What time am I usually live? I am live at 10:30 p.m. London, so it depends on what your time zone is. I think I don't know where Dawn is. It's like 5:30 EST or something. 1500 PST. Okay, so are you like certain amount of hours plus half an hour ahead or behind of me? 6 p.m. EST. Wait. I start streaming at like, I guess I am starting to stream at 10 p.m., but 10:30 p.m. is officially, right, when we typically start. Let me just grab some water. Think of some questions, guys, please.
Today.
What was that?
Yeah.
Did I get anything today?
Yeah. Well, I got 6 trades.
Yeah, I saw that on the channel.
Yeah. I was like, this is great. This liquidity grab's amazing.
I mean, it's the liquidity grab we were looking for, right?
Clear. Oh, the closures were good, and then it
just didn't move.
Like, it's 10 pips down or 20 pips down.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, I'm not going to close because it's going to run. It's going to run to at least a daily flip.
Yeah.
Just like randomly pull back.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Oh, I'm not in this trade, guys. No, this was previous. I was just analyzing for somebody. But yeah, like honestly, I think after this liquidity, I like. Thing is, it was a whipsaw, right? And it came up, came down, came up, came down like multiple times. It like even just within this 5 minute candle. So like at that point, I was like, okay, cool. Once you do break the lows, you may see a push, but it may be relatively like indecisive. So what I typically do on those days is, as it's coming down, I look for, a closure that's, like for example, this closure, it was closure below these ranges here, just about, right? You have a top wick or whatever, but, as it's coming down, you should continue to flip. You have no top wick here, right? But, that would probably be my trade instead of, so I took this trade to come down. Don then took, I think these. I think he took a sell around these areas, wherever it was. 84, I think. Yeah, I got 87 entries to come down, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
was
don't
just
I don't know
almost
why
like
it didn't
broke
drive.
lows, broke highs, and then broke the lows again. It's like,
Yeah.
oh,
I mean, it just shows.
it's like there's no, and then daily no bond week. It's like there's not one more perfect setup for sales, and then
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
nothing runs. Like,
Yeah.
it sucks.
But I mean, yeah, occasionally you get that. I think honestly, it's just the daily time frame. Even though you closed like this and you have no daily bottom wick, you're at such a strong support. Um, which is why you're just hovering here. That's why I think. But yeah. Also, I want to see how many pips in drawdown Tom is in. Was that Tom or Connor's position? It was Tom, right?
Top 20.
I think 26
23.
at the moment.
Yeah. 26. Yeah, I think, I mean, you're probably going to respect this. Like, it's looking like, I mean, your price just opened up. Just wait a bit. But yeah. Yeah, we've been bearish for multiple days, right? I think mainly just because of how last Sunday pushed up and like created this massive top wick. And now we're flipping bearish, right? So we have a lot of liquidity to come down. Yeah, I'm not expecting much of a top wick for this daily if it wants to drive down. At least if it drives down first. What's up? Were you gonna ask something, Johnny?
I was gonna say if it starts respecting here, then you can probably understand there's liquidity from when that Sunday is being like spent, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's slowing down, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it needed to grab more liquidity on its way down already. So, this I would say is more like just a retracement to come down,
My 5 minute candle's on
just
100
a
pips
correction,
anymore.
huh?
My 5 minute candle's on 100 pips anymore.
Yeah, man. Thank God for that shit. One thing I'm having trouble with is to form a bias, because what do you look at? You zoom out and overall structure, latest move, latest kind. Yeah, okay. So I think bias is just you look at higher time frame closures, you look at high time frame if it's grabbed the top wick, you look at how the candles closing, the wicks, where are they? Do you have top wicks, bottom wicks? I think all of that kind of plays into overall bias. So for example, right, if you just look at the daily, I would say when you were towards these areas, you had a closure below here, right? You just broke your previous low. You had a closure below 2007 on the daily, right? And it was a bearish candle. You have a bottom wick. I'm pretty bearish, right? That's the bias I would see. And then this candle obviously then pushed because I was bearish for the day. We understand that there's a higher chance that price is going to push down. And then once you get to this area, I said yesterday that I don't know what bias I have. Right? I'm like kind of part bullish, part bias. Part bullish, part bearish because any given point, this previous candle was very very bearish, but you've closed exactly at a support. So I'm not really looking specifically for buys or sells at that point, right? I'm just looking to adapt to prices as it happens, right? Because price could very easily reject here as it's done before, right? For example, all of these cases, right? You even grab liquidity above this candle came down, you still respected 81. So at this point, like once this closed like this, I was like, okay, cool. I'm not really bearish. I'm not really bullish. I'm just kind of, I'll just see what price does, right? There is a high chance you'll come up to fill the daily range, which you did. And came up towards these areas. Look at these wicks here, right? And as that's happening, cool. Now it's flipping bearish. You broke past the range, likely going to come down, right? And your next range coming down is probably towards, like, I don't know, like at least 71 or like, I just, we'll take price down eventually. Can we consider this a doji? I do not think this is a doji candle because I mean you grab quite a lot of liquidity. Your candle body is about 28 pips. I think a doji closure is more something like this, where it is like basically like these. These are like doji candles. You see this? Try to highlight this. That's kind of like a doji candle there. I'd say this one's not really as much of a doji candle, especially because we had a range here. Sorry, a level at around 81. And we closed below the range now, right? Your broker closed with you opened with a gap. I mean, yeah, like I'm expecting, like you've been so bearish for the previous couple of days. You also have a massive top wick. I'm expecting price to come down first. I just don't know where that top wick is going to be, right? And if this is the start of a reversal, I'm going to need to see the break of the lows, and that's going to be towards these areas, right? But yeah, that's basically it. Yeah, Tom, I think overall the position here, it's just no volume. I know you had news at 6:01, right?
I
But
think that's what screwed it, to be honest.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I forgot there was. I was looking at this exact same position. I
yeah,
just got busy, so I couldn't look at it right then.
yeah,
And then they hit 6, and this drove up. I was like, oh, here's a bond auction, 10-year bond auction. So
yeah.
I mean, most of the pairs that won't really affect, but bonds and that are quite important for gold prices. So.
I don't think it moved much either.
It wasn't crazy.
Well,
It was
I mean,
pips,
I think it's a yellow, orange shoulder or something.
I mean, it's not a
It's
small.
quite,
Yeah, I
there's
mean, it
quite a lot of
did move.
falling lows.
For
So.
like 6 p.m., it did move like 30 pips, so not too bad.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was just like, yeah, towards the end of the session. I think it was after. It was even after London closed. So yeah, London closed, which was the volume was dying down. So we had that.
Yeah.
Move. And it started ranging afterwards.
I mean, you're respecting this. It's, any given point, this can just still flip down. Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know if it's going to come up all the way to here. That's the main thing. Because if you get a repeat of what happened yesterday, right? You just came up, came up, came up. We closed here, no top wick 15, right? Just came down for a little bit, and you start coming up again, and it just started. But at that point, you did close. Your daily closure was important. At this point, your daily did close down, but below the range. So we'll see. We'll just see where it takes us, really.
I'm not seeing that much liquidity from the lows to drive up that far. That's fine.
As in to go up.
Yeah.
No, we need to break the lows to go up. There's no way we can just sit like this.
Exactly. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Keep position open.
Do you ever get like FOMO after like closing position, like with that trade of the drawdown yesterday, and now you see it's gone all the way up?
Oh, for this to go up?
Yeah.
Not really. Because I look at it, I'm like, I mean, that's fantastic. I actually wanted it to push up. So if it does push up, and then we can look to take some sells down, that's because there's always going to be another trade. That's the main thing. Like if it does this, we've exited break even or whatever. Like the only time I would feel like, okay, I probably closed early or whatever is maybe if I didn't go like with my plan, or if it was like, for example, on a funded, right? If you're all the way down here, you may be like, 1 or 2 pips away from like that 5% drawdown. You have to close, right? And at that point, it's like, okay, well, you closed and then it started reversing on you. And it's like, well, fuck. Because that wasn't your original plan. You have that stop loss there for a reason. But for this, where you close kind of break even and you're understanding that, okay, price just pushed up, which was quite a lot, right? Like, what is it? Like 80, 90 pips? No, sorry, no. 65 pips. At that point, I'm like, okay, cool. This is great. If it continues to push, bottom wick, maybe we'll look to take it up. Or, if it comes down, break some of these lows, we'll look to take price down. Like, just kind of understanding that we most likely will get another trade. So
then it's just take the pieces that are highest percent.
yeah, it's just because your next trade, like we don't always get trades which last like 8-10 hours. So the next trade is likely to be, there's a high chance, I would say, because we're scalpers. The trades maybe only last like a couple minutes, right? So it's actually quite rare you get a position that's so long. There's more, you're kind of in between a scalp and a swing with those even really. Yeah, many people who are disciplined won't get daily entries on gold, and if that's so, then yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily get a trade every single day, right? You will probably get a trade every single day when it's moving like this, right? And it's so volatile, it's just going up and down, right? Then at that point, yeah, cool. We'll likely get a trade every single day because price is moving, so we know that as price is moving, we're probably able to take it. But if it's just ranging or if it's like sporadic volume, then we probably can't take anything. But with the way gold has been moving in December, it's been pretty nice, I would say. And we don't really need to trade other pairs at the moment. When are we getting commands? Well, we have signals for the DVS already covered for every single session. I don't need to produce signals. Because if I do produce any signals, I'm just taking business away from other people. I'm not trying to fight.
Can't even pass the funding, so
Man, exactly. Like, you don't want my signals. What do you mean by commands then? Oh, the Nightbot commands?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think that's
Bro,
what
I
it
don't
is.
even know. Like, how do yeah, I can try to set those up. That thing is, like, I asked Don like a couple weeks ago, like, can he just send me a bunch of his commands, then I can just like chuck them in here. But he hasn't sent them yet, so I guess I'll make them myself.
You should just remind him.
yeah, you should call him while he's on the toilet.
Man, he's not gonna send me those fucking things.
He's
He's gonna ignore that one. You can do it for me? I mean, does that mean you have to log into my account to do it though?
Oh, I can do it for you too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so log in for your MT5, right?
Oh, yeah, nice, easy. To my live, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Hey Elvis, will there be a video on how to use the buff journal? I love journal, but I don't know if I'm filling it out the right way. So I've recorded a bunch of shit for Reza to make a video, but I don't think he's actually produced it yet, which is very concerning because I did that like 3 weeks ago. Yeah. Anyways, the analysis you do is enough to know what you can do if you encounter a situation that you show. Yeah. But again, like all I can kind of show you guys is what I would do if price is, at the current price. Right? What price does later on in a couple hours, I can't control. Right? And at that point, the best thing I can try to teach you guys is how to adapt to that price. So I try to give you multiple scenarios and what would happen in those kind of those scenarios for price where we're expecting liquidity to get grabbed, what we're expecting if get a breakout, like is it actually going to drive or does it need more liquidity or stuff like that, right? Yeah, Tom, you got a 15 respecting, 15 no bottom wick as well.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Respecting on the 5. It's just low volume. You may even see it trickle up and then come down later on, but what does the no bottom wick mean when driving up? Um, Overall, I would say when you have like, say a couple ranges or a couple levels, as you're driving up or down, no wicks it means, for example, right, if you're pushing up and you have no wick for this candle, right? What does that mean? It means that if I draw this in lines, you probably opened up here, came down, created a top wick, right? Came down, and then your next candle just pushed, right? So you did a bit of the retracement as part of this candle already, but you just decided to continue pushing because you had enough retracement to go down, right? And in that case, it's just price, you can interpret this as price is moving very quickly in that direction. Another way you can interpret it is, for example, if you've closed respecting a level like this, let's say it's a higher time frame level, right? And you've closed respecting, then you're probably expecting this to flip because you haven't broken past this level here, right? This level you have respected. So as you're respecting this level, you can probably understand that, okay, if price wants to continue breaking up, you probably need more liquidity, right? And as you haven't broken this level, it's showing that you don't want to push up yet. So if this candle does flip, so for example, right, if you get this candle closure, it's like this, and your next candle just opens up, right? We'll potentially look for the flip to come down if it makes sense, right? Just based off these two candles, I can't tell you, but if it's going up, and it's doing this, and you've broken past the level, so your level's here, and yeah, we can probably look to take this up. But no bottom wick is slightly more difficult because we typically want to wait for something that looks like this, where you get a breakout above, right? And then your next candle creates a bottom wick, then we'll put a buy stop, and as it goes up, then cool, we have another bottom wick, and that confirms that we're not going to come down anymore, right? Because, well, there's less chance that we're coming down because you've already created the retracement for this candle. So on your chart, right, it's looking like this. You come up, come down to here, and now you're pushing back up. Whereas the difference between this and this is that you have a stronger low, right? So if you come down all this way and then you break up, then cool. Whereas this could just be, a tick or two for price that's kind of just wobbling. Does that make sense? Yeah, nice. Would you put buy stop on the slip? What do you mean by on the slip?
The flip.
On the flip? Yeah, so like if your candle is something like this, and then your next candle comes down first, creates a bottom wick, and then comes up, yeah, I'll probably put a buy stop here if it makes sense. So, right, if this is breaking a specific level, right, say it's above, let's say this level, just for now, right, like here, then yeah, cool, potentially look for that. But yeah, it really depends on the overall context as well. See you, champ. What time frame do you usually draw your support and resistance? All time frames. Like I would say you can probably start with your daily and then refine your levels on like the 4 and then your 1 hour, your 30-minute and everything. So for example, on the daily, right? We just remove everything. Like you see we have a level towards around these areas. But this range here is massive because it's the daily, right? This range here from here is already like 12 pips. So what is the actual range? So we go down to the 4 hour. Okay, so we look at this, right? So look, we have some support and resistance here. So is it down here at 81 here? Right, then we look left and we look at what's cleanest, right? And typically we just put it where we understand that price is likely to drive, and it looks like, anywhere down below, I would say these levels, I would say was our sell levels. And your 4 hour, you could make some pit stops. I'd say around like you maybe have another level here, so you had a potential fake out here, but yeah, that's what we typically do. You start from the higher time frame and then you work your way down. Yeah, good night, Vin. No worries. Any other questions from the Zoom?
I don't think so.
No? It's all right, no worries. I think, oh yeah, by the way, we are opening up membership applications again. Previously, we kind of closed it, which is why we increased the price. So we are actually reducing the price again for January because I think we can probably get in a couple more people. We have like a backlog of a couple people who want to join. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I think they were like towards the end of like October, had like 20 people who wanted to join, and I was just at that point I was like, no, I can't physically talk to 20 people, like or like up to 25 people on the same stream within like a 1 hour period and answer all of those questions. It's just not possible. So we kind of like increased the price quite aggressively then. Do I think Dominion is a good broker? I do not know. I have no opinions on brokers because I've only really used one, which is Blueberry. This is real content? I hope so. I'm not located in the US. I am based in London, but I'm from Hong Kong. But I was actually born in LA, so don't know. I don't know what that makes me.
Mr. Worldwide.
But it's kind of weird, man. Like I actually previously had like a US passport, which I actually gave up.
Oh, you don't want the tax, right?
Yeah, nah, fuck the tax.
How the balls on the US to tax people who are living in a different country?
Yeah, it's
Like, bruh,
ridiculous. Like I haven't been there for like 20 years. You still want me to pay tax? Like what is going on?
because some countries offer a tax write-off for the US tax.
Yeah, like it's just
I doubt
ridiculous.
the UK does.
No, I doubt it as well. Can I explain the wick entry? Yes. So for example, all right, let's say you go into, let me just draw it actually. It's probably easy to just show you guys actually. So cool, right? You're looking at this. You're looking at, let me find a better example. Wick entry, wick entry. Yeah, okay. So this is like, I'm looking specifically at this, right? Wick entry. So, oh, Connor, you're there as well. Let me give you mod real quick. I can't click it because it gives me this fucking heart emoji shit. Can I move that? Yo, what? Fuck. Okay, you're good. Right. So, right, you have a level here, right? So your wick entry, right, is basically when you get a closure below or you have some level of confirmation, right, that you're looking like you're coming down, right? You're coming down. Cool. We've established our direction, at least for the short term. And as that's happening, right, we're looking to get entries in. One type of that entry is the wick entry, where we're looking for price to push up first, have no bottom wick. So it's looking like it will likely flip because we're bearish for that time frame. We're looking like price is going to come down towards the next support. So we're looking for that wick entry, which is going to give us a slightly better advantage point, right? So for example, let's say we get the wick entry towards 2014. Then at this area, once the candle flips, we'll break even, right? And that gives us a much better entry compared to if we just take the flip. And as that happens, the flip, we'll need to wait for the candle to push down a little bit more before we break even. But at this point, once it's already flipped, cool. We have a fantastic advantage point. Does that make sense for wick entries? And you can only really use wick entries when there's slightly more confirmation on the charts. So if price has already come up, right, and it has no bottom wick, then yeah, cool. If you have a bearish structure as you do here, then yeah, wick entries are fine. But for example, if you have something that's like this, and you're looking for buys to go up, the wick entry here, does that really make sense, right? Because any given point, if you held this for longer, it would just come down, right? So the direction hasn't been established within the range. So wick entries, you still need the overall direction, which may include breakouts, may include other things as well. Yeah, Sally, I got your link. I'll check that out later, or probably tomorrow actually. Cheers for that though. Anyone here in the US? What was that?
No, I was just gonna ask for today's price. Go to today's price. You couldn't have took a wick entry here once we tapped into like this resistance.
No, probably not.
Why?
Um,
Because we hadn't broke.
It
Oh
was
no.
the news candle. We broke close
it
and then
yeah,
pushed up.
this was the news candle. I mean, I was looking at this. This was literally like the top of this range, right? I mean, and if you looked, yeah, I mean, I saw this like here. Look at this, all right? Cool. You could have taken a wick entry there, but the main thing is it was a news candle, and if it continued to break up, it would just fly. Um,
Yeah. So you
especially,
know,
yeah,
ICT, he literally posted a video like yesterday. He's trading news and he's entering. It literally just looks like it's where we would enter on liquidity, and he's entering like at the peak of the candle on news, and then just exit as it reverses.
yeah. I mean, it's fair enough. I mean, that's definitely a tactic, but I think,
For whatever his strategy is, right? But I'll just say it literally just looks like
yeah,
where
yeah,
we would
yeah,
trade.
for sure, for sure. I think the main issue I had with this is that this news candle actually came like I think
It went down
up
first.
and then down and then up again. It was
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it came down, up, and then came down again, and then like continued to flop around for a while. Um, I can't look at the seconds chart, can I? Can I? Oh, oh no, fuck! I'm too cheap. Um, but yeah, like that's the main issue. So and also I think price technically with the way news came out, I think it was negative for gold, but it started driving up, right? And then you had a bottom wick already, so it's like okay, where are you actually going? You don't know. But yeah, I would say that's probably the only thing there. So the wick entry is basically a retest of the last support. No, 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 no. The wick entry can be anywhere. So for example, like let's say I have these two levels, right? Or these three levels. Let me zoom in a little bit. And then I get, let's say I was pretty bearish coming down, right? So let's say we were coming down from these areas. Cool, right? Came down. We then grab liquidity all the way to come down. Actually, yeah. So at this point, let's say you get a breakout, and then you started to grab liquidity as you're coming up, right? You were very bearish, but your candle currently is looking like this, right? As it's looking like this, you're understanding that because you were so bearish previously, it's likely that this is a liquidity grab for us to flip and fill the range down to here, right? So we're expecting the candle to come down to here and do something like this. That's what we're expecting the candle to do, right, Baron? So as that's happening, it doesn't matter where this is, right? Obviously, the steeper this is, the better, right? And then we'll look for the flip normally. But we've been taking wick entries where it's just an entry anywhere in this area, which is, eventually it will be this wick. And that is a very small thing. But eventually it will be a wick, right? Because as this flips, we'll go break even and we're expecting the fill of the range, right? Um, so that's just basically the wick entry. There's no overall like yeah we're looking for a wick entry at a specific level. Sorry, we are looking at it at a specific level, but not at like okay the top of the range or the bottom of the range or whatever. Like we'll look at where liquidity was grabbed previously for price. So we'll just look left. We'll see when price is now breaking into this range below 2018 to 2014. Where did it typically tap before it came down, right? And that's where we look for in terms of liquidity. But it's not like always at a very specific level. Sometimes it's just, it's not like a top of the range or a bottom of the range. It's, for example, I think yesterday we were looking for on the hourly, like as this was printing, I think as it came down, we were looking for potential wick entries towards here, right? 1985, because understanding that as we're breaking below these ranges, we probably need some liquidity to go down. I think did we tapped around these areas, right? I think it was like around here, 85. I think you had a bit of a rejection initially. Uh, where was it? Can't find it anymore. Oh yeah, here or here it was. Something like that, right? Either or, you would have had a position potentially to come down, and this would have been a wick entry to come down. But again, it depends on the scenario. In this context, it didn't really make sense. You needed to see some different structure before that happened. 30, close, no bottom wick, no top wick. What the fuck? Is that what happened? That's classic. Yeah, that makes sense, Baron. Nice, nice. Can you explain liquidity? Yeah, no worries. So liquidity again. So for example, all right, let me choose the best example. Yeah, this is not bad. So previously you were ranging here. You were in this range, right? You're understanding that you just kind of ranged here. You didn't really move. You didn't break above 1984. You didn't really break below 66. But generally, you can understand that you were bullish to go up, right? And then, right, what you grabbed was liquidity outside of the range here. So you broke all the lows. And when this happens, we typically look to see, okay, we were so bullish, you're suddenly coming down. Is this more likely to be a liquidity grab? So we usually either enter, in these sorts of areas for liquidity to go up, or we wait for closures above the next range to go up, and we take it up to the next range, right? Because this, to us, looks to be orders being grabbed for price to continue bullish, because we were previously pretty bullish, right? Look at all this. We were very bullish. So the chance of this coming down at this point is slightly lower. So, and this is what we kind of typically say is a liquidity grab. And you can also say, if you're more familiar with Don's playbook, it's kind of a fake out, right? So on the 4 hour, you actually had a fake out back into the range. You filled the range up, right? Yeah, so that's what I would say it typically is. Does that kind of make sense? Who's it? Andrew, right? Yeah. It's just something we've been observing, and like we kind of see very often on the charts. And like, I mean, after we implemented it, the kind of overall win rate for price has gone up, for our trading has gone up quite a lot. So it's definitely been useful, I would say. Where do you think gold might drop? I mean, it's been dropping for a while. I'm expecting price to continue bearish for the next daily. Or if anything, I'm expecting price to come down to retest, probably break these lows before you're able to come up. But I don't know where it's going to reject at. That's the main thing. It needs to. We'll need to wait for this 4 hour to close, which is in like an hour and a half, right? No, 2 hours and a half. And as that happens, you can, if you get a 4 hour closure, which is respecting, I don't know, like 1980, or potentially even like towards like 1983, then maybe you can look to continue taking this down after a top wick. But yeah, you just need it to respect certain areas, which currently it's pushing without a bottom wick. So you're still expecting it to come down, right? You're still expecting, if it wants to drive up, for us to do something like this, right? Create a bottom wick, break the lows, and then a flip to continue up. And that will be your daily candle, if that is, right? It's very rare that you don't break any lows to come up. I'd say, like, if you do end up taking, like, say you do get a bullish candle above this range, say you get an hourly closure like this, right, with no bottom wick, let's say that happens, there is a potential chance that price will come down, break these lows to come up, and if it has no top wick at that point, it's slightly more difficult, right? Because then as you flip, right, you're expecting price to continue driving up because you've created that bottom wick. But regardless, you now need a bottom wick in this area. Is it going to break this area? I'm not too sure, right? But you now need a bottom wick towards these areas, I would say. Does that kind of make sense? Hey, welcome, Aram.
Yo, so is this the last stream before you go on vacation?
No, we should be back tomorrow, right?
Oh, I thought you
Today's
said yesterday. It's not the last one.
And tomorrow, Thursday, right?
is today
Today's
Tuesday.
probably Tuesday. I
We
don't
got
know.
two more. We got two more.
Oh, but
Yeah, we should have two more.
true.
Don't trip, man. You want me to leave already? Jesus. You want to take over?
Yeah, actually.
Oh, we're pushing. Tom, what are you gonna do? Have you decided?
I don't know. I'm gonna panic sell.
I mean, if it stops, it stops. But
Yeah, I'm just gonna leave it.
I mean, there's just nothing you can do, basically. Yeah.
I mean, 4 hour golden wick, 1.5. It could flip at any point. So
Yeah.
probably expecting the top works now.
You do have some resistance towards these areas as well, so you may see a rejection towards these areas, but yeah, there's not much you can do at the moment. I am all with DonVo Strategy. That's what I trade. Also, Pineapple are amazing, but that's what happens in drawdown. What about Pineapple in winning trades rather than closing in small profits? I would say overall, if you're in a winning trade, right, because we're scalping typically, so we don't really look for, like, we don't really stack our winning trades. The reason we stack in, in drawdown or whatever is we're understanding that our overall concept for price typically is correct, right? Um, as you are, going against us for a trade, we're looking for price to potentially, so for example, right, we were in this trade here. So let me go back to the hourly or whatever. We were in this trade in a buy here because we're understanding that we need some liquidity to be grabbed in these areas. You grab the liquidity just later on, but it worked out. The actual play, the concept was right, right? But our stop loss was right below. Yo, how far down is this? Our stop loss was there. Understanding that at any given point, price will need to grab more liquidity if it wants to drive down. So in general, like our stop loss was in the right place. We took a pineapple here, which enabled us to get out at break even, right, or slightly in profit, right? But it's because we understand that this trade, the quality of this trade is still good. So there's a high chance that price is going to come back towards these areas, and either even get you out at break even here, and we could have had full profits. But the pineapple gives you options at that point. Can I explain range 1 and range 2 differences? I mean, it depends. What do you want range 1 and range 2 to be for? Range 1, range 2 is just two ranges, right? It depends on what you're using range 1 and range 2 for. If it's a confirmation for reversal, or if it's a confirmation that you want to continue breaking up and it's liquidity, breakouts, right? Okay, so, I mean, you can see here, right? You had range 1, range 2. When you're with the bias, right? For example, you're just coming down, you're with the bias, you're down, right? You're coming down, right? You're looking for sells. Get a breakout of range 1, typically it'll work. It'll fill the next range, right? Because price is more bearish than bullish, right? And then, as you get a breakout below range 2, you can probably look to take it as well. But, you probably need a little bit more liquidity as this is shown to continue down. You probably also have a couple ranges here, which you completely filled as well. This was probably also a range, right? Down to this wick here, right? So you came down, broke below, retested this. You filled the entire range here. This is the hourly, right? So if I go down to the 15 or whatever, you filled, right? But overall, I would say range 1, range 2, if you're with the bias, is just breakouts, regular breakouts. Thing is, when you're looking at range 1, range 2 for reversals, it's completely different because let's say price is now in this area, right? You have, you pushed all the way down, you formed what seems to be a range 1, right? Actually, your range one probably, if we go down to the smaller time frame, is actually up to here, right? But you didn't establish this until you had this, right? I would say even like around here, you had multiple ranges here, right? So you could say this was a range that was, you know, around this sort of area, right? So if this is your range, cool. You have a second range here, so you're looking to take breakouts coming down, but you had no bottom wicks or whatever. This push down, cool. You tap your exact level, so nothing you can do, right? But as you're reversing, right, you're breaking back into these ranges. Once you get a breakout above range 2, I would say you can probably then look for some buys, right? Because at this point, when it was pushing down here, this is also a range. You've created a range here on the smaller time frame. I don't know if it's showing you. Oops. I don't know if it's showing you on the 5, but yeah, look, you have a range here on the 5 as well, right? So as you're creating that, and then you get a breakout back above here, then you can probably look to take this as a range 2 breakout. So that's what we typically say, right? Get a range 1, range 2, reversal. You don't trade the range 1. Why? Because there's a high chance that price is going to reverse on you to continue down, and this will just be liquidity for us to continue bearish, right? So that's what we're worried about for range 1. But as you create this range 2, you have a celery to continue going up as well. You know, I would have preferred probably a slightly steeper bottom wick here before you go up, but those are now valid because you understand that if price wants to come back up, you're now respecting the top of range 1 originally. Then yeah, you're sorry, range 1, range 2, right? You're respecting the top of range 2. Looking to take this up is more safe, I would say. Does that make sense, Silent? Range 2 breakout, it's a fake out. So I mean, this is your range, right? The bottom here is a range 1, the top is a range 2. Right, so range 1, range 2. All right, so as you're coming up, why don't we take the buys above range 1? Because we're worried it's going to fake out to come back down. But range 2, once you get a breakout above, there's no reason for you to come up all the way to here and then start breaking above, right? So typically when we see a range 2 breakout for a reversal, it usually makes sense. But this incorporated with the celery is a zucchini. And that's the more higher confirmation trade that we typically look to get if it's a reversal pattern. It's not really a reversal pattern. Like, honestly, with the way we're currently trading, like we will still need bottom wicks, right? It's just that this 15 created this bottom wick for this candle and then started coming up. So oh, so if this next candle, oh, okay, I see what you mean. So if, for example, your range 2 candle, let me get back to the rectangles. So if this then closed like this back into the range, is that what you're saying? I would say if that happens, then obviously you can't really take anything. And what you could then take, right, is you look for another breakout above this range, right? Once you get that, you have a bottom wick, look to take this going up. Does that make sense? The reason we look for the celery is because it needs to confirm that there is a level being respected. So you're breaking back into a range and you're going to fill the next range going up. Did I use Don's playbook to understand? Yeah, I mean, I literally just... Don's playbook number 1. Number 2 is kind of just going to his streams every single day. Number 3 is kind of talking to him every single day. Number 4 is going to Miami. Number 5 is creating the playbook, right, to understand what it is that he's actually looking for. Number 6 is continuously trading myself and like all those concepts as well. A bunch of things, right? I would say clean traffic is something that you can typically look to get if you look left. Normally you look left for clean traffic. So for example, we're looking for sales below 73. Why? because there is clean traffic coming down, right? What is dirty traffic? I would say, potentially when you are in these areas here, this is disgusting because you have so many rejections here. Like price typically will slow down here. But once you break below all of this, so for example, once you broke this candle here, you probably could take this down to here because this had no bottom wick as well. It was just one clean push all the way down. And your next resistance was probably around these areas. On your lower time frame, you may have seen some level of rejection around here, right? But this to this here, this was clean traffic. And if I extend this, you'll see relatively clean traffic coming down as well. You have some just basically red candles coming down, right? As you broke these wicks as well, you had some relatively clean traffic to come down. This to here as well, as you broke these candles, clean traffic here. Look at this, right? This is the best example of clean traffic. Clean traffic going up, clean traffic coming down, both sides. Does that make sense? It's just like if there is some place that price is likely to reject at, then, there's a likelihood that price may stop there for a while, make a decision, and then push, right? But if it's breaking below a certain structure point and then as like the push up or the push down was very like clean and like in very few candles, you'll probably look to mirror that because you don't have any areas where price is looking like it's rejecting at, right? That's why it's called clean traffic, because there's nothing stopping price. Your advantage points don't exist within that kind of space. But yeah, cool guys. I'm probably gonna end it around here. Zoom. Any last questions before I boot you all out? No. All right. I mean, I'll see you guys tomorrow and Thursday. Last 2 days, right?
I'm not tomorrow.
Okay. We'll see you for the final day though. Yeah. Sounds good though. Right. Cheers for joining, Zooms. I'm just gonna sign off the live and should be good. Have a good evening, and we'll see you tomorrow. See ya. Yeah. So everybody on the YouTube, thanks for joining up. I think we peaked at like nearly like 97 or something, nearly 100. But yeah, thanks for joining up. Hopefully this stream was educational, right? The main point of this pre-Asian session is to, give you guys some sort of understanding of what we're looking for typically for all sessions, how we typically look to see, like, okay, price is moving in this direction. What does that mean? Can we take a trade? Is that in line with what our plan is and all of that? There's a bunch of, psychology stuff that we typically touch on, I think on Sundays when we're doing Psychology Sunday. But you're always welcome to, ask any type of question on any single day, right? Especially if you're struggling more on certain things for a certain day, or if you've come in and you're in a trade, we can look to take that analysis and apply it to your trade, right? But yeah, thanks for joining everyone, and thanks for liking up the streams, and I will see you guys tomorrow. We will be streaming Wednesday night and Thursday night, and that will be the end of the week because Friday night means that you don't really have any trades on Saturday, so we typically don't stream that day. But yeah, cool. Well, yeah, thank you very much for joining, and see you guys tomorrow. Peace.